Marvel's Spider-Man on PC is fucking incredible. It is beyond anything that I imagined what it would be in my head. To be able to sit in my nice, comfy office chair and look at my 17-inch laptop swinging through New York City. It is everything that I hoped it would be, and then some. And it almost feels like a dream. One that's been granted in the best way possible.
Getting a nice double dose of Spider-Man tonight, and I am not disappointed whatsoever in the PC release of Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. This game is fucking amazing. Good old nice double dose.
This port in particular is one of the best that I've seen. Judging from the last major port that was released on PC that I did play from start to finish, which was the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade Edition on PC, that game was missing all kinds of graphical options, stability options. And fortunately, my laptop is strong enough to where I didn't really experience any slowdowns with that game. Of course, there were a bunch of players that weren't as lucky or weren't as fortunate. But it would have been nice to have some graphical options. It would have been nice to have some options to be able to stabilize the frame rate and what have you. Now, whereas that's one of the worst ports that I've played on PC with the remake to Final Fantasy VII, Spider-Man, by comparison, is the complete opposite. There's options on top of options here. From being able to change the frame rate to more accessibility options and how you actually play the game to various diverse graphical options that's available to the player, that you can easily pause the game at any point, even in the middle of a cutscene, and swap out a few settings. It's literally the perfect example of what these PC ports should strive to be. And just very briefly going over the game itself, because I did cover this game years ago when it first initially came out. But Marvel's Spider-Man is one of the best games that I played last generation, and it is the definitive Spider-Man game. I'm sure there's a small pocket of people out there that are in the minority that believe that Spider-Man 2 from 2004 is the best Spider-Man game, or Spider-Man Web of Shadows may be the best Spider-Man game, or that game may have the best web-slinging mechanics that's available in gaming. They would be wrong. That small pocket of people would be incorrect. To hell and back. This game is the definitive Spider-Man game all the way around, from its combat, which is very smooth and clearly takes inspiration from the much beloved and critically acclaimed Batman Arkham series. The controls are extremely responsive, no matter which action that you're undertaking in the game, be it walking or web slinging or engaging in combat. It's a very responsive game, very smooth game, and the DualSense controller works to perfection here. The only thing that I felt is missing is some vibration. I didn't really feel any vibration using the DualSense, which is strange because vibration is available through the DualSense if you're playing like Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. There's vibration in the controller and what have you. The same goes with the Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I'm not sure why it's missing here. That would have been a nice touch for them to add. Now, it could be something that's in the settings itself, although vibration should be something that's automatic. So again, I'm not really sure what the issue is going on there. But aside from the gameplay itself, the story is extremely well written. It introduces a Peter Parker that's very experienced, who's been Spider-Man for a number of years. And there's plenty of callbacks to his earlier days as Spider-Man, going all the way back to the very beginning. And it does that in the form of collectibles, but the collectibles are very quick and easy to access. The game shows you exactly where they all are, so you're not spending, a bunch of time, wasting time trying to find these collectible trinkets that are scattered around the open world.
Funny, my fear of heights didn't go away when I got my powers. Had to climb to the top of the Empire State to get over that. Hey, my Mark I web shooters. Managed to improve the storage capacity a lot since then, but the basic design's still the same. When MJ and I applied for this lease, I thought we'd move in together. Instead, we broke up. I can be pretty oblivious sometimes. After I got my powers, I didn't need my glasses anymore. Told everyone I got laser eye surgery with money from the Fisk Science Prize.
Everything is very seamless, with the exception of, if you're going into a building or whatever, a cutscene will play out, which will transition to the indoor area. But everything outside, which is where the bulk of the content is very seamless. I will say I did experience some slowdown, which is not really any fault of the game itself. It's more than likely my setup. But in order to get the game to run smooth, because when you first boot this game, the game automatically sets the graphical settings and the stability settings as far as the frame rate and what have you to the recommended setting based on what your PC specifications are. With my laptop, I'm running a laptop version of 3060 GPU along with an 11800H i7 processor. Therefore, I'm able to play the game with a stable frame rate at 60 FPS on the second highest graphical setting without any slowdown. I also tried toying with the ray tracing effects. They are noticeable to a certain extent, but they're extremely minimal, and there's no point in really being invested with them. Ray tracing to me is a very overrated feature, and I've experienced nothing but a grand degree of slowdown with the games that offer ray tracing as a graphical feature. So typically I just tend to turn it off. And when I turn ray tracing off here, the game ran much better than when I had it turned on. Now, if you can run the game with those ray tracing effects on without any slowdown or with minimal slowdown like with me, fine. And if it doesn't bother you, fine. But for me personally, like I said, ray tracing is a very overrated feature. I really don't even like it on console. Playing games on PS5 that offer that option. I really don't care for it there either. Now, this is an older game, so ray tracing back in 2018 wasn't really introduced in any major fashion. Maybe there'll be more of a difference with newer games compared to older games that initially didn't have the feature in the first place. But going back to the game's story, it's really interesting seeing more of an Arkham-style presentation with a Spider-Man game here. All of the villains and all of the side characters, be it Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, Vulture, Shocker, Mary Jane, Miles Morales, seeing some of these characters the way they're presented here, presented with some of the industry's best graphics and with the kind of nuance that they're given by the writers, is basically a fan's wet dream. And of course, the options with your various upgrades, your combat upgrades, your suits, the wide degree of suits that are available in the game, and the character descriptions as well. Clearly a lot of love and attention was put into this game by people who are fans of the Spider-Man character. And even all these years later, 4 going on 5 years later, this remains one of my favorite games on any platform. And I'm very grateful that it's now available on PC to where I don't need my PlayStation in order to experience it. But I can still get the same experience that I got on console playing the game. Spider-Man on PC, it's fucking brilliant. If you have a PC, there is no reason not to pick this up. And I don't get to say that too often on this channel. And for those who are curious, the game is also Steam Deck verified. This has been confirmed by multiple sources. Of course, I don't have a Steam Deck, and I have chosen not to support the Steam Deck, so I don't have the option to actually test the game on the Steam Deck. But from what I heard, the game runs pretty smoothly on that, handheld. So If you have a Steam Deck, this game is another reason for you to power up that handheld, especially if you're away from home. If you haven't already, definitely check out Marvel Spider-Man on PC. It is very much worth your time.
We've got a 10-10 narcotics still in progress. Need a local unit on scene. Please proceed to Hell's Facts.